Kim, thank you so much for coming by and spending some time with us. We're here in Vegas. You're playing in Vegas here. This is so exciting because you have done so many different things in your playing career. And this is really about this next generation of students that are looking at these interviews saying, what can I pull from this that can give me some guidance into my future?
Right.
So for yourself, as a keyboard player, where did it begin for you in your early life? How did music enter your life?
I'm so old that when I was growing up, that they actually had an organ department in department stores. It's like an organ was something you bought, like, oh, go get some apples, get some bread, go buy an organ. You know, they were just there, and I would go shopping with my mom. She'd drag me along, you know, as a little kid, 4 or 5, and I would sit there with they had the chord organ where you play the chord, then you play the melody, and it was like, wow, this is so cool. And then
like a vertical accordion player, kind of like, and you weren't squeezing.
Exactly. You didn't have to squeeze, like an M&E organ. And I just thought I got attracted to it, and I could do something on it, which she, of course, you know, every parent thinks their kid's amazing. So my mom thought I was amazing. So she bought me, though, they didn't have a lot of money or anything like that, but they bought me this little organ, and then they got me some piano lessons, and then they made me take piano lessons. But I was always drawn to it. I always liked playing. I think, you know, you're talking about people that are drawn to music. You know, it does something to you molecularly or maybe psychically. It's some kind of meditation. It fixes something in you. I think there's a lot of musicians that are, so there's a lot of kind of problems with musicians sometimes. They're, you know, low-grade depression.
Right.
And it calms you and soothes you. It kind of aligns you a little bit. Like I used to love to practice. It was just a meditation. I just felt it, you know, peace and all that. So I don't know. From early on, I was in it, and then I hated it, and I stopped because it was like after school, and you had to go drive, and you're already tired from a day at school.
Take your lessons.
Yeah, and I wasn't learning stuff that I wanted to learn, and this is Georgia in the way back, and you know, I went to some jazz organ teacher, and she was terrible, and I just wasn't learning anything. You know, you get through all the John Thompson stuff, then you get into some classical stuff, and I don't know. So I just gave it up.
So it was a formal type of training.
Yeah, it was some training. Yeah, I had like about 5 years of piano lessons.
Was there music you were listening to that you liked better at that time than what they were teaching you?
Well, exactly. There was a big disconnect. There was a big disconnect because, you know, the pop music at that time was stuff, you know, on the radio. I did buy every single that ever came out. I think this is more of the producer sort of side of me. Is I had to listen, but I had to listen loud. My mom couldn't understand why I had to listen so loud. You know, I had this radio, my transistor radio, and I just parked it on my chest at night and listened like all night to music.
Yeah.
And I was just listening to all the parts.
Yeah.
The way it was put together was always, I was really drawn to the mechanics of it. Like, look, there's a little thing, and if you turn it up, there's another little thing there, and you turn it down, you hear the mixed difference, and all you hear is a tambourine. But then you hear that, and I was just fascinated with the idea of a mix.
Yeah.
And then, you know, stereo came out. I mean, I'm really old. and you'd hear a stereo record, and it was like, wow, there's stuff over there, and there's stuff over there. It was like
But that was big then. That was really
it was big thing.
Yeah.
You know, Jimi Hendrix experience. It's like, it was so weird because it was like the vocal was just there. It was all over there, and the drums were over there. They couldn't figure out quite yet. But you know, you build an image. You don't just put it over there.
So that part of the producing part was equal to that part of what you were hearing, all the different parts that were being played.
Yeah.
You're starting to pull from this.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to do the whole thing. I like the idea of putting together the whole thing. Yeah. I knew that piano was part of it, because you hear piano parts in there if you turn it way up, little Motown, little ching-chings and all like that. But you're right, there was a big disconnect in what I was being taught and what I was drawn to musically until these kids formed a band, and they knew that I'd taken piano lessons.
Around town, you're playing with these
yeah, just in my high school. Yeah. So, for early years of high school, they call it junior high now, because I was pretty young. And they knew I played piano, so they said, why don't you be our organist? And I said, I don't know what that is, because I quit piano lessons, and I don't know. So, you know, I had a paper route at the time, so I used my money and I bought an Orga Farfisa and a basement amp. And
Oh, Farfisas.
yeah, and then played, you know, Light My Fire and that stuff in the band and soul music. And then that led into another band that was a little more professional, and then that led into another band that was like really professional, meaning they were a lot older and a lot scarier to my parents, I'm sure, because they were scary dudes, actually.
Right.
My mom insisted, she said, if you're going to do this, you need to take real lessons. And so she connected me with a guy named Dr. Oliver Herbert in Atlanta, and he was a great teacher. And because he was a doctor, he could write me hall passes and get me out of school. And he did. It was fabulous. I have a doctor's appointment. And I would go to this guy's house in downtown Atlanta, and he had these 2 grand pianos, and we'd just sit there, and he would play music, and I would play music, and it was just like, oh, whew. He got me out of school. I love this guy.
What a racket. That was great.
I love this guy. And he knew it was a racket, but he was an old fella, and he just said, you know, he was so sweet, and he said, and I was like a hippie. And like in those days, there was a dividing line of, you know, you were a hippie or it was like a
generation gap.
Yeah, it was a thing. And so, and he was very, you know, he's in his suit and everything. He said, any kid that wants to learn how to play, I'll tell him. I had to audition for him. You know, you didn't
Nice.
take anybody.
You earned
so,
it.
this I hate to get too long, but I went to at the time, my band was like getting into doing Yes, you know, we were doing prog rock.
Yeah,
that was kind of big 69, 70. And so, and Emerson, Lake and Palmer. And I loved Keith Emerson, and it was really inspiring to me. And then at one of Dr. Herbert's little rehearsals, this guy got up there and he played Allegro Barbaro by Bartók, which is the Barbarian that Keith Emerson stole.
Absolutely.
And that's when it all lined up. Like, okay, now I'm taking lessons for what I want to do.
Now you're
You know,
talking.
they came together at
Wow.
that point.
Huge. So was this teacher kind of like a mentor to you?
Oh yeah, yeah. He mentored in a lot of different ways, and you know, that's why he would take me out of school. I think he could see that I was you know, not lost by any means. Had a really good family and all that stuff, but you know, he wanted to mentor me.
Interesting. What do you think as a mentor? What did he see in you?
Just somebody that was on a path that he knew something about.
Interesting.
And so he wanted to share. I think it's a natural evolution of life. You know, you have your accumulation phase, and then you have your kids, all that stuff, and then you have a phase where if you're not giving back, there's something wrong. You feel like there's something's wrong, and you know, he was at that stage in his life where he just wanted to give back. Maybe he was always that way,
But so you're at this point now. Where did this get you down to this next stage of being a professional, where you were committed to playing and actively performing?
I was committed early on just because, you know, that was how I was making money, and it was professional early on. Meaning, even the bands before that were professional because that was sort of why you did it. And in a weird way, you know, I wish I could say, oh, gee, it's all about the music and all like that, and it was.
Yeah.
But the reason you got in a band is because you could go do gigs on the weekend. You go play, you know, I was in Atlanta, so you go to Clemson, or you go to Montgomery, you go to all these fraternity parties. Because they weren't DJs, so you had to have a live band.
Absolutely.
And you go there, and these people would be out of their minds, and you know, the microphones would be flying, and they're drinking, they're carrying on. But you're playing, you know, music, and it was exciting. It was fun, but you got paid.
You got paid to play live. It's something important for this next generation to hear that. And they can still do that by putting bands together and playing live. The live thing, it was so common in our time that you just played. You got together and played.
That was it. And the thing is, you had your stuff that you did. My day job was music, you know, was that band.
Yeah.
But then you would have these kind of artsy projects on the side where you would try to do your own thing or try to write or something besides doing, you know, top 40 music or the hard rock music or whatever, you know, the band genre was. Right. But yeah, my day gig was music. You did your music gig that paid, and you always kept that because I had to, especially when I moved to California. Big turning point for me was moving to California. And my dad, he said, you know, if you want to go to college, it's great, I'll cover you. You know, if you want to go do this, you're on your own. Yeah.
You're on your own. Okay, so you're on your own. You made the move
you're
to
on your
California.
own. And So I had to earn money,
Right.
and the thing that drove me, like, okay, well, what do I learn? What do I practice? Because there's only so many hours in the day. How do I make this work? Looking back, I didn't really have it written down or anything like that, but my mantra basically was, if it paid money, I was going to do it, and then I would learn. I don't know if that really makes sense. So whatever paid money was what I was going to learn.
Right.
So that's what I focused on.
That was
because
your vocation. That was your vocation.
If the funk band thing was paying good, then I was a funk player, you know. And if that was happening, and that sort of has spread throughout my career. I've called it a career where engineering, owning a studio, all those different aspects, film composing, writing for commercials, whatever was making money, it was something that I knew I had to learn.
Interesting.
I always thought that I would be an incredible jazz player at this stage. You know what I mean? I just thought, at my stage of life, I'm going to know every standard song. I'll be able to sit down with any singer and just kill it, because I'll know everything, because I've been working. But that wasn't what paid.
Interesting.
That wasn't what let me survive. What let me survive was, doing Coca-Cola commercials, doing McDonald's commercials, doing whatever, as well as doing this, and then as well as trying to develop talent, and as well as trying to write songs and all that stuff. I think I'm maybe talking too much.
No, but that's a good point, because you are now putting yourself into a variety of different situations, which is what musicians need to hear. It's not just this one path. You widen that path to have multiple incomes.
I had a lot of people that knew me as, just an organ player.
Yeah.
Just B3.
Yeah.
And some guys that knew me, I had a really long run of being the beat guy. Meaning, there was a lot of bands that came along when hip hop was sort of like Beastie Boys and all that stuff. It was like, well, there's beats, but there's rock music, but how does this go together? How does that even work? And I got a gig one time to do that. And that led to something else, to do it again, then to do it again. And then I got connected with Rick Rubin, and he gave me this stack of vinyl. And it's insane. You thought, okay, well, Rick Rubin, people, he's kind of a mysterious guy or whatever. He's a music fan, super fan, right? You think like a good writer is a good reader.
Yeah.
A good record producer is a good listener. He's the guy who listens to record. Rick Rubin listens to record. He knows. He sent me the stack of vinyl with little stickies on third song. Drop the needle about this far in. There's this little thing there, and it was the original beats from like every hip hop thing ever. And he had the original vinyl, and it was like, wow.
What a lesson.
It's just deep.
What a lesson.
It's a deep respect for it. You hear it. Oh, they sampled some James Brown, or they did this, but it's Frank Wesley and the Horny Horns, and it was that thing there, and there was this thing there, and then it was like, wow.
Well, you have to respect the amount of research that it takes, and the time, and the hours.
The love.
Absolutely.
The passion. He's passionate about that, and that's, it's not an accident.
Yeah.
He didn't just stumble into being Rick Rubin and having Deaf American and doing all that stuff.
Right.
He had to be passionate about it to know all that stuff about it.
That's a great perspective, because the networking that you were doing now, you're meeting all these different people, you're getting all this different influence from these different people, and you're really widening your game a lot.
Yeah. Well, and it also broadened my skill set. So, I was more valuable to people. I could bring more to a project. Like I said, people knew me as a keyboard, people knew me as the beat guy, and there's a lot of people that hired me, oddly enough, as an engineer for a period of time. I was like an engineer guy, producer, and it's like, okay.
So they
didn't even know that
they didn't know you played keyboard or whatever.
Not really.
Yeah, so you were like the engineer. How great that is. So you really wore different hats.
Yeah.
And you stepped into that role seriously. You learned it.
Well, I probably wasn't great at any of it, but I did it all good enough. And the big thing I did work really hard. Just going back to my dad, like when I was like 10 or 11, I really wanted a racing kart. I'd quit piano lessons, and I was like, I want to just go fast and crash and burn like a boy does, right? You want to see how things fall apart. You want to go fast.
I have 3 boys. I get it.
Yeah, right. That's what they want to do. They want to see how something breaks. Girls want to put it to bed and put it in, and not to be misogynistic, it's just the way it is. But I wanted to see how it would go fast. So he said, this has sort of molded who I am, I think, a lot. Instead of getting me the go-kart, he got me a job. It gave me this template of, you can have whatever you want as long as you work for it. So then to get the organ, I want to play in a band. Well, and he had a ledger in the checkbook. He would loan me money, but I had to pay it back. So there was a ledger that was like in a weekly payment, and $150 for the Farfisa and the amp and all this stuff, and then $20 or $5 a week or whatever it was.
How great!
And you realize that I can have whatever I want as long as I work. And so, that's a good lesson to just have in you. Fantastic. It's empowering. You know that you can be autonomous, you can be self-sufficient, but you really have to work hard.
But you put that time into it. You put the hard work into it, which is why your career still is at the top of its game. You're working hard, continuing to do this.
I always work. I like what I do, but I kind of get obsessive about it. I really want to do a good job for people. I really want to give. I really want to give.
Well, that's part of a great message right there, because hard work and natural talent. Natural talent, if you weigh what that is, people that are naturally gifted, and you weigh the other people that have to really work hard for it, there's probably more in the work harding area that's going to give you that level of results.
Right on.
Right on. You put the time into it, you're going to get the result. You're going to earn it.
They talk about the creative process and writing songs or producing anything, and I've heard a quote said it's 5% inspiration and 95% perspiration.
Right.
And there's really no getting around it, I don't think. I mean, people say, this is a great quote, the guy from Outkast. That's a great band. I mean, that record, it's like, how did they make it sound so bad but so good?
Yeah.
It's just awesome. God, what an awesome record that was. And they said, oh, you're a genius. He said, no, if I was a genius, it wouldn't have taken me 2 years to do. So I just worked really hard on it.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me. I think that was a great quote too, right?
Well, that's another message. I think this next generation has to see the fact that really is the ethics of success. Yeah. Putting in the time, understanding your instrument, putting in the hours, doing the research, and just making sure that you believe in what you're doing and you stay with it, to persevere. Yeah. Really what it is.
Perseverance is big.
That's something which obviously you have maintained that all the time, as far as just continuing.
I had to. I was afraid. I had kids.
Fear. Think about the motivator that fear is, right? With a family now, here you're now trying to balance out family and art.
Oh man, and you never get that one right.
Yeah.
Because there's not enough time in the day. To really be a great studio owner, manager and stuff, a full-time job. Yeah. To be a keyboard player, to stay up on all the latest stuff, full-time job.
Full-time job.
To be a dad, full-time job.
Yeah.
Be a husband, full-time job. So you got all these full-time jobs, and there's really no way that you're going to get it right. And you just hope you're good enough at all so nobody gets hurt.
Right.
That's kind of all you can really. That's all I tried to do.
Well, it's a crazy business that we're in, But then again, any business has that same kind of craziness to find that balance. Yeah. But we love this. There's something about this that we still want to do it.
Well, that's why I think, getting back to what we started with, I think, people are drawn to that. People say, well, how did you choose music? And it's like, it kind of chose me. Yeah. And I think people who are thinking about it in those terms, should I be a surgeon or should I be a musician? I think they're thinking about it the wrong way. I think it fixes something in you, and you're passionate about it, and you sort of just have to do it. Yeah. You just keep coming into it. Which, if most musicians are like that anyway. And it's fun. Music is fun.
Think about it. So here you are playing, you're traveling, you're in Vegas, performing and on tour with Elton. This really is kind of, it must be just a dream come true that you're with this band just playing and just
It's a great band. Yeah. It's really great. I love all the guys in the band, and they've been doing it a long time. Their history alone was an inspiration for me. I loved Elton. When Elton first came out, it was so cool because I was in all these bands. I was doing music, the top 40 music at the time, didn't really have a lot of keyboards, but then Elton came out, I was like, yes. See? Keyboards are cool. Piano is cool. It was like, it was.
So the early days of listening to Elton and then being on stage with him, what must the feeling be like when you're on stage with this incredible legend and this massive force in the music industry.
Yeah.
What must this be like? This is
It's fine.
It's surreal, it must be.
Yeah, well, the first couple of gigs were really surreal because, it's just, I'd met him basically on stage in Moscow. It was the things that...
That's where the first gig was, yeah.
First gig. Yeah, and I literally met him there. We didn't practice before. We had practiced with somebody else. And yeah, it was, you're playing with him, and then you look at him, wow, I play with Elton John. And no, wait a minute, I can't think about that. I have to just finish Tiny Dancer. Let's just, it was a distraction is what it was, because he is a force, and he's loud, and he's exciting to watch, and that's why people still, people are lining up. There's no stopping.
To this
the
day,
gigs.
the
They're
Elton
bigger
John
than ever,
machine
bigger and better than ever, and he's singing better than
is
ever.
fine-tuned, absolutely.
No, he's
absolutely.
killing it. He's just killing it.
What would you say, in closing, if we had to come up with something that this next generation wanted to hear from you as far as what you could deliver to them that could give them some kind of hope or direction or some kind of a guide for what they could do to continue and seek their passion in music, what would you say to this next generation?
In general, it's always be thinking about what you're giving rather than what you're getting. Be sure you're giving something, be sure you overgive to a situation. Make sure you take care of people. More than anything, I think this is a people business.
Yeah.
And you need to treat people right always, anyway,
Yeah.
just to have a good life,
Yeah,
to be a
yeah.
good human, to be happy in your skin. You have to treat people right, to live with yourself. But bigger than that, just the personal relationships are it's a big part.
Yeah.
It's a big part. You look at anybody's career, it's who knew that person, that who knew that person, that who knew that person. And always leave people smiling. And like I say, don't be so concerned about what you're getting.
Right, right.
Be really concerned about what you're giving. And I think another big thing is to always know what your value is within that, and that's always tricky, but a way to get around that is always have your book rate for what you do. Find out what a professional rate is for what you do, what is acceptable range, and have your book rate that you're happy with.
Yeah.
And then just tell people, if somebody said, well, yeah, I want you to do this, I want you to do this, I want you to do this. And then you can say, I want to work with you. And I like what you're doing, and I'm excited about doing this, and I'm going to help you out. And this is my book rate. But what do you have? What were you thinking?
Yeah.
Don't just say, this is my book rate, and don't do like this hard negotiating thing. Just say, this is what I would normally get. This is what I normally charge. But I really want to do this. What do you have?
Right.
And then just try to work it out. And then you never know. You build a connection.
That's great advice, because we just had Matt in here, and Matt was talking about how it's such a pleasure working with you because you are that real of a person. You're honest. You're there. You can be talked to. It's enjoyable to be with you. When you're in the band, it's a family.
Yeah.
And that core of feeling each other and being able to really work with each other and inspire each other every performance. That's a huge responsibility.
Yeah, your family systems play into it. It's been funny that you mentioned family, because it is a family, and with all the dysfunctionality that all families have.
Absolutely.
And you have to practice forgiveness, acceptance, and know when to pick a battle if you need to do it, and then know when to step away, and know when to be quiet. And getting along with people is really, really important. If you're going to work with somebody, you're going to just even hire a film composer.
Yeah.
A lot of times you're not like right there with them, and so it doesn't really matter. You're just hiring them for their work. Yeah. But people hire people that they like.
Yeah.
And that they can hang out with, or that they can at least have a good conversation with, and they know that they're communicating. They know the person sees them, and that they're not going to turn around and stab them in the back or something like that.
That's powerful. So with these good people skills and good music skills, there can be healthy relationships that come out of playing music for a long time and enjoying the journey of being involved in this crazy business. Yeah. And I like your point, be aware of giving.
Yeah.
That really is a very, very powerful. I think that's going to be the greatest message that this next generation will hear from you. Give more than you take. That's powerful.
Excellent.
Powerful. On behalf of the Sessions, Kim, we thank you so much. This has been a pleasure, man.
Great seeing you.
Thank you
We'll
so
see you down
much.
the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.